Let's get it! 580 Sports Talk is live and direct on a Wednesday. Happy Hump Day, one and all. Thanks for being here on the Sports Voice of Kansas. 580 WIBW FM 104.9. Online at 580WIBW.com. On your mobile device on the MSC Radio app. And on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. However, wherever, whenever you are joining the program today, thank you so much for being a part of 580 Sports Talk. My name is Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuy will be along in the 4 o'clock hour. We are with you until 6, when once again we will hand it off to the Royals Radio Network for Game 3 of 4 between the Royals and the A's. A walk-off winner for Kansas City last night. Boy, you thought the Royals bullpen was bad. There's always somebody who has it worse. And the A's, yeah, they're the team right now. They're that team for everybody that has it worse. Royals score 3 in the ninth. Bobby Witt Jr. plays the hero. Third walk-off win of the season for the boys in blue as they come from 3-1 down in the ninth to win 4-3. Special thanks to first base umpire Alex Tosi for not ringing up Tyler Tolbert there with 2 strikes on a check swing in the ninth inning. He absolutely swung. And they didn't ring him up, and he tied the game on the next pitch. And that's the kind of thing that happens to you when you're 11-39 in your last 50 games like the A's are. So Royals aren't complaining. They'll take any win any way they can get one. They are back at it with the Sacramento Athletics tonight. First pitch, 6:40. Pregame coverage, 6 o'clock. Catch it right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. We got 3 hours to hang out together in the interim and plenty to discuss today on thematically what is going to be the injury edition of 580 Sports Talk. Because early on in camp, you don't worry about injuries. We're not really early on in camp anymore. In fact, for the Kansas City Chiefs, camp is over tomorrow. And 2 of the 5 projected starting offensive linemen aren't practicing. And again, it's probably a little too early to panic, but I understand there being a little bit of consternation that camp's about to wrap up and Trey Smith still isn't back to practice, and now Josh Simmons has been sitting out for a couple of days with an injury of some kind. So we'll discuss that. We'll take a look at the injuries because there was a injury panic meter article in the Ringer yesterday that I thought kind of overstated how much of a concern that injuries are in Chiefs camp. But are there concerns? Well, get into that a little bit on the show today. And speaking of injuries at camp, KU and K-State continue their football camps as well. They return to play game action a lot sooner than the Chiefs do. And the K-State corner of social media was abuzz last night with some rumors that, if they are true, would be a real buzzkill, but it should be stressed that they are rumors and they are unconfirmed until they've been confirmed. But sounds like there might be some injury concerns on the offensive line. And that is obviously not ideal. It's especially not ideal when one of the guys you're concerned about, and again, per the internet scuttlebutt, the guy to be most concerned about is also your only returning all-conference offensive lineman in John Pastore. So we'll discuss that, what that could mean for Kansas State. Is it too early to start slamming the panic button on what those injuries could mean for their season? And KU dealing with an injury to a projected major contributor on their offense as well, with Cam Pickett not having been a frequent part of practice lately. So we'll talk a little bit of college football today about the depth that will be tested should some of these camp injuries linger for Kansas and Kansas State. Speaking of K-State, Tim Fitzgerald of GoPowerCat.com is going to join us at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour today for this week's Wildcat Wrap-Up, sponsored by Tallgrass Windows and Doors. Always great to hear from Fitz. We'll find out what he knows about those injuries on the K-State offensive line and what Kansas State is going to have to do to patch those leaks, if indeed there are leaks long-term to be patched. We'll also hear what he had to say about everything else going on at K-State football camp and anything else K-State related we can think of to talk about with Tim Fitzgerald of GoPowerCat.com. He joins us at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. Our other guest today at 5:25, it's Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, for another training camp report brought to us by Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. Mitch left us with a real cryptic hint for our yesterday's show about who our featured player would be today in the spotlight in the training camp report. He simply said, it's not a player we've really talked about much. And now knowing who the player in question is, I would say that that is a fair assessment of who this player is. But none of the guesses got it right. My guess was a defensive back. I was wrong. We had a couple of other guesses from listeners, all wrong. So who's it going to be? I'll withhold for a little bit longer, and we'll find out the mystery later on. Mitch Holthus joins us at 5:25 today. We'll also hear some other training camp audio on today's show. It was the day for the assistant coaches to speak. They always pick a day, the Chiefs do, late in camp, where you get a chance to hear from the position coaches. And so in addition to hearing from Steve Spagnuolo, who spoke to the media today, we'll also hear from Andy Heck, the offensive line coach, and Chad O'Shea, the wide receivers coach, because I think those are the two most interesting coaches to hear from at this stage of training camp. The veteran offensive line coach and the new wide receivers coach for the Chiefs. So we'll hear from them a little bit later on in this hour. We'll get to some Royals as well. Last night's walk-off win and the impressive big league debut for the big right-hander Carlos Duran, and look ahead to tonight's third game of that 4-game series against the Athletics. Plus, our typical fun on a Wednesday. We've got one got to go to play. We got another round of What Is Wrong With You, 580 Sports Talk headlines, of course. All of that coming up on the show. Plus, your interaction with the program. Want to hear from you as we go along today. The text line is open, as always. 785-272-9429 is the number. 785-272-9429. We'd love to hear from you on the text line. Also, if you're watching the program on YouTube today, name of the channel, 580 Sports Talk. When we're live from 3 to 6, the live chat is open as part of the stream. Jump on in, say hello, interact not just with your hosts, but with your fellow listeners as well, and grow that 580 Sports Talk community in the live chat today. Hello to Christopher, Mark H. Good to hear from both of you. Look forward to having more of you join the fray in the chat today. And go subscribe to the YouTube if you have yet to do so. The name of the channel is 580 Sports Talk. Real easy to find. We're pretty easy to find everywhere. If you want to find us on any social media, except for Facebook. Facebook, we don't have a separate Facebook page to ourselves, or we don't really do Instagram. We're not on the TikTok yet. We're not everywhere, I guess. We could do a better job of that, I suppose. But where we are, the places where we are, short form microblogging outlets like X and Blue Sky, and I guess just those two. Video outlets like YouTube, podcast outlets like Spotify, and, well, I guess that's the only one for right now. Just search 580 Sports Talk and you'll find us. We're real easy to find that way. 580 Sports Talk. And once you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you'll be alerted whenever we start going live with some of our video content that is expanding as we approach the regular seasons for pro and college and high school sports. Pro football. Pro sports calendar never ends, right? But we're getting close to college and high school sports getting underway, and we're going to expand video offerings accordingly. So now's a good time. Go subscribe to the channel, 580 Sports Talk. So Tyquan Thornton was back at practice today. We could start with the good news, injury-wise. We were a little worried about Tyquan Thornton. I was a little concerned that Mitch Holthus had started a run of putting the whammy on guys, because Mitch had already decided prior to the start of the week that Brashard Smith was going to be the Monday feature. And Brashard Smith, truth be told, didn't have the best game on Saturday against the Rams. Had a couple of moments in the passing game, but as a runner, continued to struggle. And then Tyquan Thornton, the Tuesday focus, he gets hurt on Tuesday. So now I'm starting to be afraid for whoever else we're going to feature in Mitch's segment, because if it happens 3 times in a row, I was going to be worried. But thankfully, no injury concerns for our Wednesday featured player. And Tyquan Thornton was back at practice today. Just kind of tweaked the hamstring, but clearly not severe. If the Chiefs had been the slightest bit concerned, they'd have held him out for a day to monitor it, but he was back out there today. Obviously, Mansour Delane has continued to work, and there's lots of film out there of him performing well in one-on-one. Cyrus Allen got him on a one-on-one on a go ball, made a really nice one-handed catch. That was kind of fun tape to watch if you had a chance to see that floating around social media. But a handful of guys did not practice today. And I'll address them kind of one by one because, like I said, we are getting close to the end of training camp. Tomorrow is the end of training camp. And we are then going to get to the point where a player's continued absence at practice starts to become a concern that grows the closer you get to September 14th and the regular season opener. So, 4 guys that were worth noting that didn't pop up. I guess 5. One of them's been on the pup, and we'll get to him. But 5 guys of note, with apologies to Matt Willetsko and Jeff Weimer, who did not practice today. And I'll start with a guy who we didn't even really see, or nobody saw, at training camp today, Ashton Gelati. They didn't see him down on the field. That doesn't mean he didn't get some work in. That didn't mean he wasn't working with the trainers. But he wasn't at practice today. He had just gotten back from a hamstring issue, and then it looked like he tweaked his heel or his ankle yesterday. You could see there was video of the play where the injury occurred and of him trying to stretch out his leg or his heel. It didn't appear like, I mean, you think about a guy reaching for his heel, and your mind immediately goes to Achilles. Didn't look like that, if we're being really honest with each other here. Not the way he reacted, not the way he was able to move around afterwards, but concerning enough that he was not at practice and has kind of had an off and on camp as far as just his availability. Gelati is a starter at defensive end for this team, I think, as things currently stand, because I don't feel like our Mason Thomas is a player who they're going to ask to be a 3-down guy. And Gelati's clearly ahead of Felix Anudike-Uzomah in the pecking order as well. Emmanuel Ogbah just got here. The starting ends on opening day project as George Karlaftis and Ashton Gelati. If Gelati is limited, if Gelati can't go, then you're asking a lot of Felix Anudike-Uzomah. You're probably asking a little bit more than just third down specialty stuff early on from are Mason Thomas. Lost the name for a second. And then you got to figure out sooner rather than later if Emmanuel Ogbah is still a rotation caliber defensive player in the league, which production-wise didn't look like that last year. That's a bit of a bind. And also, I'm always more concerned when it comes to younger players, particularly younger players who are about to see an expanded role, whether that's in a different spot or whether that's just more snaps. I'm always a little more concerned when those guys miss the reps, miss the field time due to injury. So the Gelati thing is concerning because I really like the Chiefs' first 8 as ordered on the defensive line, but it gets really, really thin after that. And you start to stretch guys in a way that isn't real comfortable. Like, do I think that Felix Anudike-Uzomah has what it takes to at least play rotationally and not just get overwhelmed snap after snap? Like, do I think he could be your third or your fourth? Which is really what the Chiefs are going to ask. Can he be their fourth best defensive end? I think that's within his reach. I think that's within the realm. But what if he's got to be their second best? What if he's got to start? Because our Mason Thomas just might not be there physically as a guy who you can play against the run reliably on first and second down yet. Gelati's limited. All of a sudden, Felix Anudike-Uzomah, a guy the Chiefs didn't feel it was worth it to take not a free fifth year. They wouldn't pay him, but they had the opportunity, the right of refusal on a fifth year with the Chiefs, and they said, yeah, no, not going to do that. And now all of a sudden, that player become a starter over the offseason, become a starting caliber player. I have a lot of trouble seeing that. So, yeah, there's some concern with Gelati's health. And I think there's also concern at this point with Omar Norman-Lott, who's still on the PUP list. And it's understandable that his recovery from a torn ACL would take longer than Patrick Mahomes's. For one, Mahomes is, as Scott Steiner would put it, the father of a K-State basketball player would put it, he's a genetic freak and he's not normal, right? Like that's what you would say about Patrick Mahomes. Omar Norman-Lott, bigger guy, might take that full year to really get revved up after that torn ACL that he suffered early last season. I think it was week 6, maybe week 5, one of the two. Again, I like Omar Norman-Lott's fit as a rotational piece. And I think he can be the fourth best defensive tackle, which is what the Chiefs are going to ask him to be this season, behind Chris Jones and Kyrus Tonga and Peter Woods. I think that's a role that Omar Norman-Lott, whenever he's healthy, is capable of filling. Behind him, question marks. Like Marcus Harris and a whole bunch of UDFAs that you've got to be a real sicko, a real Chiefs sicko to know off the top of your head. It's just not a real deep position behind. And look, if you roll 8 quality guys, that's pretty good. I think the Chiefs are in good shape on the depth chart, but if they've got to make some preseason alterations to that depth chart because they're going to miss guys for a couple of weeks or for longer in Omar Norman-Lott's case, because that's kind of trending toward early season IR for him, it feels like. Then all of a sudden, that changes who makes the team. That might even change how many defensive linemen you have to carry on your opening day 53-man roster. And if you all of a sudden find yourself in a spot where you have to keep 10, then all of a sudden, is that a defensive back you have to cut that you don't really want to cut? Is that a wide receiver that you have to expose to waivers that you don't really want to expose to waivers? Is that crossing your fingers and exposing Garrett Nussmeier to waivers? Changes the calculus of how you build your roster. So those 2 injuries on the defensive line are certainly worth watching. Jack Cochran is nobody's idea of a star. He is a trusted special teams piece. He knows the playbook. He's third in line for the green dot on this football team should something happen to Nick Bolton and Drew Tranquill. But if he's got to play like a bunch, if he's got to wear the green dot for a bunch of weeks in a row, that would not be a position the Chiefs want to find themselves in. But as your 5th linebacker who plays a bunch of special teams, Jack Cochran's fine. But Jack Cochran is hurt, and Jack Cochran is not practiced. And the Chiefs made a signing today. Remember Cam Jones? played every game for the Chiefs, appeared in every game, 2023 and 2024. So he's got a ring. He's been to 2 Super Bowls. And he was a special teams menace. He was a guy who popped on close to 70% of the special team snaps in his 2 seasons with the Chiefs. He was right around 65, 70% of the special team snaps both years. Obviously a guy that the Chiefs trust. They let him get away. Last year he signed with the Jets, played 10 games with them, signed with the Giants in the offseason. Giants cut him. And now the Chiefs bring him back. A guy with that much institutional knowledge, a guy with that much in the way of special teams bona fides, do you really bring him in if you don't think he's got a route to the roster? And is his route to the roster related to this Cochran injury? I think that is worth keeping an eye on. Then you have the guys on the offensive line. Josh Simmons was a DNP today. Trey Smith hasn't practiced for a couple of weeks now. Andy Reid, when he spoke earlier this week, seemed to suggest that Trey Smith would be back in drills at least by the end of this week. And he is probably, it's a hip thing. It might be the injury that I'm most concerned could linger, but I'm the least concerned, if you'll follow me, I'm the least concerned about the fact of him being injured. I might be the most antenna up about the nature of his injury, but I am least concerned about the fact of his injury as it pertains to his ability to be ready for the season. Because a guy like Trey Smith, he doesn't really need camp. He doesn't really need preseason. If he is practicing on September 7th, that's good enough for me. I don't care if he's in traction until then. If he is on the field to practice on September 7th, that is good enough for me. That's all I need. That's all the Chiefs need. So that's not one because, guys, that's 19 days away. 19, he got almost 3 full weeks from now until game week. That's not even until the day of the game. Game week, he's got almost 3 full weeks. So I'm not real worried about that one just yet. Josh Simmons not practicing. Now, I know some people look at that and say, well, gosh, Simmons got hurt midway through his final season of college football, missed the rest of the season. So I slid down the draft board, right? That injury was a blessing as far as the Chiefs are concerned because it allowed them to draft him at 32nd overall. And then he gets hurt last year, has the broken thumb, wrist, and has to miss the rest of the season, gets hurt. I think it was in the Cowboys game where he gets hurt, and then we don't see him again the rest of the year. Is Josh Simmons injury prone? That's the question, right? Is Josh Simmons injury prone? And I will tell you right now, I do not believe that he is. I do not have a concern about Josh Simmons being, quote unquote, injury prone. A torn patella tendon and a broken hand, effectively, those are freak injuries. Those are not indicative of, oh, he's got a nagging problem that's gonna bother him, gonna recur, gonna just kind of pop up. Soft tissue stuff is that way. Those are the kind of, or back injuries. Those are the sort of things where you're concerned. If you're talking about tendinitis, things like that. But tore his patellar tendon, and then he broke his hand. I don't think that means he's injury prone. I think he's been unfortunate. But I don't think, looking at it right now, that I would evaluate Josh Simmons as being prone to injury. Now, he's another guy in the same vein as Ashton Gelati. I think he benefits from camp. He benefits from reps. It would be, in a way that I don't feel about Trey Smith, I feel like, man, it'd be really nice if Josh Simmons were not missing practices. But I'm not worried about him missing games. And at the end of the day, you got to be real cautious with your most expensive merchandise, right? With your most important guys. So Josh Simmons is another one. They want to sit him until September 7th. That's okay by me. As long as he's practicing September 7th, we're good. It's fine. So if the question is, how concerned should you be about the injuries at Chiefs training camp, with the wide receiver injuries seeming to be beyond or behind the Chiefs, at least for now? Cyrus Allen's going. Xavier Worthy's going. Tyquan Thornton was no big deal. He was back out there today. I don't think it's a massive concern yet. I don't. Could it become one? It's football. You ask the Los Angeles Chargers. You're one practice away from having some real issues. That's the nature of the beast. But right now, as I'm sitting here, I am not panicking about the Chiefs' injuries. I'm not there yet. 785-272-9429 is the number. You can also interact in the live chat on our YouTube channel. Love to hear from you as we go along on this Monday. We got some training camp audio coming up a bit. We'll hear from Spags, Chad O'Shea, and Andy Heck also coming up on the program. Tim Fitzgerald, GoPowerCat.com at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour, and Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs, at 5:25. We're just getting started on this Wednesday here on 580 Sports Talk. .334, we're just getting revved up on this edition of 580 Sports Talk. Hit with you until 6 o'clock today. Royals baseball coming up after we're done. Afternoon baseball, we're running out of midday weekday baseball for the Kansas City Royals. I think we're down to just 2 weekday day games left, including tomorrow's against the A's at Kauffman Stadium. Run out of season, which I know for many of you feel like, well, man, the way those guys have played all year, that's a blessing, not a curse. But run out of season. There is day baseball tomorrow. We'll be on, obviously, following Royals baseball with a 1:10 first pitch tomorrow. Mitch Holthus coming up at 5:25. Got some Chiefs audio right around the corner from camp. We're going to talk a little college football and injury concerns at KU and K-State camps. Plus, Tim Fitzgerald, GoPowerCat.com for the Wildcat Wrap-Up, sponsored by Tallgrass Windows and Doors, coming up at 4:35. Andrew in the live chat, welcome in, Andrew, asks if Cam Jones is a special teams signing or is it to add depth to the linebacker room. So it's interesting, right? Like, he was a really trusted special teams guy for 2 years. Really trusted. And usually, guys who are that trusted, you don't just let them go while they're cheap. You don't just let them walk without a fight. Well, the Chiefs let Cam Jones walk. And he signed with the Jets, and he played for them last year, and they signed with the Giants, and they cut him. They didn't want him around. And now he's back with the Chiefs. I do wonder if it's related to the Cochran injury. I do. That maybe they feel like there's something significant there with regards to Cochran. Now, obviously, for real significant, they had already put him on the IR, and they would have added somebody and not cut somebody as a corresponding move. Anthony Dunn was cut today to make room for Cam Jones. But I do wonder if there's a correlation. I do wonder that. And it would be, at that point, somebody who can help them on special teams. Remember, Cam Jones, I think he was the green dot guy 2023 and 2024 when the Chiefs weren't playing for anything in Week 18. I think he was the green dot guy, if I remember correctly. Which, again, that stands to reason that, okay, he was kind of in the Jack Cochran role a little bit. So I don't know that answers your question, Andrew, or if it does, it's kind of a wishy-washy answer to the question to say that, yeah, I don't really know, because it surprised me, caught me off guard today that they were making that move. But with Cochran not practicing and without a lot of guys in the linebacker room right now, if we're being frank, that you feel like have a real chance to make the team, like it's 6 guys. If you count Cochran, you Bolton and Tranquil, who you know, Cooper McDonald, Jeffrey Bassa, Cochran, and Cole Christensen. And beyond that, it's a lot of guys who, like, I guess Cam Arnold played a bunch on Saturday. I know Wesley Besainth played a ton at Miami and was a UDFA that the Chiefs really wanted to make sure that they brought to camp. But not a lot of experience in that room. So it could very easily be just trying to get another experienced voice into the room, experience on special teams, experience at the linebacker position, experience wearing the green dot. But the timing of it with Cochran being held out of practice does make you wonder if it might be injury related. And because the other thing too is it's one thing to bring in a guy off the street. It's another to bring in a guy off the street who played a bunch for you before. Like, you usually don't do that unless you're going to keep him around, right? So I think that's worth keeping an eye on. I do. We'll take a break. When we come back, we're going to hear from Steve Spagnuolo, plus Chad O'Shea and Andy Heck. It was Assistant Coaches Day at training camp on the penultimate day of Chiefs training camp. That's coming up on 580 Sports Talk. But before we get there, a quick word of thanks to my friends at Calhoun's Jewelers. Why am I thanking them? I thank them every day. I do, a little bit, silently, in my head. When I look down at my left ring finger and I see the wedding band that I found at Calhoun's Jewelers that I've worn with pride since I got married in 2022, picked out my wedding band there, picked out my wife's wedding band and engagement ring there as well. The process of purchasing those wedding rings was friendly, it was courteous, it was made easy by the outstanding selection and customer service at Calhoun's Jewelers. So yeah, I'm grateful for Calhoun's Jewelers, and I know you will be too if you go see them for your jewelry needs. They're the jewelry store in Kansas, as selected by the community and the Community Choice Awards from the Capital Journal. Go see it for yourself. Call Calhoun's Jewelers, 18th and Gage in Topeka. More 580 Sports Talk next. Chiefs are just about ready to break camp in St. Joe. They got one more day of training camp officially. Today after practice, several assistant coaches spoke to the media. Let's hear from a few of them. First, defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo.
In the past, you kind of said that maybe you would have liked to have seen more from Jake Hicks. We had a really nice preseason game, I guess.
Yeah.
How does he build?
He had a good game. Yeah, it was good to see. I mean, I think Jaden probably stuck out as probably played the best in that particular game. He had a really good day here on Monday. Him and I was just talking. He was a little down yesterday, and then today he made a big play in the red zone, came up with the interception. But he's kind of been on that trajectory, and he should be, and he's been in the system for a while now. And those kind of guys have put a little bit more pressure on because I expect them to know more and not make mistakes that maybe a rookie would make.
With the lane, progressing, just what do you see out of him as he's been able to get through passes?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely a competitor. We saw that on tape when we evaluated him. But, like a lot of these young guys, Nick and I were just over there talking about it, sometimes you got to knock some practice habits out of him. I think Mansour's learning that. I think he's embracing it. I think the vets are pushing him toward that. It's unfortunate that he's missed all the time he's missed, but we'll try to get him caught up here. I don't know what will happen with the game. That'll be on Coach Reed. But I'm anxious to get him out there and see what we got.
Also, you get to see a little bit more of him.
Yeah.
How do you look to you?
I think Jeff is, second year. He's right about where you would think he would be. The one challenge he's going to have is we're going to ask him to play a lot of different spots there, which is a good thing for him because that means we got the confidence in him. But the challenge will be learning them all. Kind of like what Jack Cochran has done for us a number of years. He's known every spot. Jeff will have to do the same thing.
How old Jerry's Steve? We saw you working kind of one-on-one with him.
Yeah, it's step by step. Now we're being careful with LJ. We want to be. We don't. When you throw somebody out there too soon from a strength standpoint, then you run that risk of the injury. So we're trying to stay away from that. But listen, I got all the confidence in the world in LJ. I kind of know what he can do. He stays on top of it from a mental standpoint really, really well, and he's a good example for these young guys on how to prepare. So we'll keep him on that trajectory. I don't anticipate that he'll play in this game, but we'll see going forward.
Take out your first look at Peter Woods in that first game evaluation.
Yeah, I hope to get Pete some more reps than he had. I like Pete's demeanor. I think he's got a little bit of that alpha dog in him. Now, when you're a rookie, it's hard for that to come out, because you're just feeling your way through. But he's got a serious tone about him that I really, really like, and because all the physical things he's got. So hopefully we can ramp him up, get him some more reps in this game, and see what we got.
So you spent a little quick moment with Jason Kelsey out there.
Yeah.
What was that?
Listen, I think Jason's great. Him and I talk a lot about the coordinator center battle when we used to go against each other, and he's great. He's into it. I remember that one. He did this, and I said, I remember when you got us on that one. I'm a big fan. He lives out there in the, outside of Philadelphia, and we go back there a lot. I had a chance to play golf with him this summer, and I look forward to maybe doing that again sometime. They're just good people, those Kelseys, right? How can you not want to be around them?
We're going to go last three. Him, Matt, and Nick.
Steve, Andy's so understated publicly in a lot of ways, but obviously a great competitor. I just wonder what maybe you've seen in him in terms of the intensity and messaging since the way last season went, and how he's responded to that.
Yeah, pretty much like you would think Andy would. Listen, we're all pretty prideful people, and we got really used to winning here, and last year was a little bit different. We're trying not to go through that again. I think every one of us, Andy included, and from Andy on down, I think everybody's trying to step it up a notch. His motto of mindset, I think, is really, really important. And then he has a unique way of filtering that into his leaders, the Patricks, the Travis, the Chris, the Nick. And you can kind of see that making its way through the team.
Did you feel some kind of different sort of burn coming from him right after the season that maybe you've seen with all the successful years?
I don't know if I could say that because I'll be honest with you. Andy's one of those guys, he turns the switch pretty quick. Like, we win a Super Bowl, boom. He's right back in the cave. We don't do so well, he's still right back in the cave. I mean, he's a grinder. That's what I've always respected about him, and that's why I enjoy working with him because I think we're similar that way. And yeah, I don't know that I saw a big difference, but I know where his mindset is.
Matt?
Coach, Chris had said before the game that he didn't really want to play if they weren't going to play their starters, and he got the one snap and kind of had a little what gives kind of look. I mean, what's that kind of
Whatever the head coach says, that's what we do. He was out. I'm good. That's the boss's decision. Any others?
Steve, what have you been able to learn from the pass rush at this point?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we always want it to be better. It's hard to evaluate. This past game, I mean, I thought the Rams did a heck of a job. So much of it's hard to evaluate pass rush. There wasn't a lot of drop-back pass until we got to like that 2-minute. I thought Mason had a nice rush at the end of the half, and there were a couple others in there really good. Yeah, we need to get in some of those situations where we can force them into the passing, but I got a little ways to go. I'm not 100% sure yet what we have, but we'll see.
Steve Spagnuolo, Chiefs defensive coordinator, speaking in St. Joe earlier today. Says Peter Woods has that dog in him. And you can hear him talking about Jaden Hicks. Doesn't want Hicks to get comfortable, but you can tell that Hicks has maybe started to change Spags' mind a little bit after Hicks spent a little bit of last year in La Casa de Perro, if you will, the doghouse. Chad O'Shea is the new wide receivers coach for the Kansas City Chiefs. He also spoke to the media today. Let's hear from him.
Fire away.
When it comes to Cyrus Allen, I mean, it's just been very impressive. Should we believe what we're seeing in your eyes of what he's been able to do here?
Well, I think Cyrus has come in and he's taken the coaching, and he's done a great job of working extremely hard and trying to concentrate on the things that we've asked him to do. There's so much detail and small things that go into being successful as a receiver in this league, and he has certainly tried to do the things we're asking him to do. It's been good to get him out there. I believe time on task, he'll just continue to get better, and he certainly has done a lot of things positive because he's worked very hard.
Sure, we still have Rashid out here, obviously early on, he's still pretty clearly dealing with the knee. What have you just seen from him recently over the last week?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of improvement with Rashid. You know, he's been able to be out there. We've increased his reps. He had a really good day today working and finishing, playing with great effort. Rashid is also somebody that has come in and just worked extremely hard since he's been here, and he's been dependable for us. You know, he's gone out there and he's improved every day physically, and he's working real hard to get out there and be a productive player for us.
I know you and the enemy are a little more vocal. Do you feel like the players receive that as well as maybe in this day and age with the way you guys are a little more intense about the preparation?
I just think it's very important to be genuine and be who you are, and that's just my style, is to just have a lot of energy and to let them know. You know, I think that's contagious. I do believe energy is contagious, and I hope it is with our group. And I hope you see the product on the field in those guys in their play, in the energy that they have by the way they play.
But you say that you want Cyrus to work on little things. Is there an example of, hey, this is something that seems somewhat minor, but you can already tell he's making progress because of what you presented?
Yeah, I think that one of the challenging things for rookies, especially rookie wide receivers, is just getting in the huddle, the communication, listening to the play call, being able to listen to the play call, get lined up in the correct alignment. So let's just start with the little things would be communication, and then being able to get lined up and not only going left or right, but getting in the exact alignment that we want for him to execute the play. So whether it's the communication, alignment, it might be a small detail in terms of a route running technique that may be different for him. So all those things are new, and they're new to most players that are rookie players in this league. We just got to continue to really focus on those things, and great things will happen if we focus on the little things.
Couple more.
You just talked about the route running technique. I know different play callers, different scheme guys, offense coordinators will have different ways they want the receivers to run routes. When you come into a new situation like this, how much of an adjustment is there for you? How much changes as far as, okay, this is how Andy wants it, so I got to teach this
Yeah, it's
technique?
a great question, because as much as there's routes that are similar, that are universal throughout the league, the way we teach them, there's going to be some things that are very different based off of the way that Coach Reed wants them. Coach Reed's been so successful, obviously, and done it in a way in which has been successful in route running techniques. So it's so important for me to teach it that same way, and that's what I've done. You know, we've had a singular way we've coached it, right? And I think the players are really taken to that, but just so much respect for Coach Reed and the way he's taught his techniques. And you better bet I'm going to teach those techniques exactly that way.
Last one, Neil.
Coach, can you talk about Jalen Royals, how he's come along since you first met him this last offseason?
Yeah, Jalen is another guy. Like I said, with the other guys I mentioned, the receiver room has worked extremely hard. He's playing in a multiple position role for us. So he has some versatility because he's very smart mentally. So we've moved him around the formation. That's been a very positive thing for him because it's increased his amount of times he's out there on plays, and obviously increases your value when you can do more for the team. And it starts with mentally being able to handle those things.
Chad O'Shea, the new wide receivers coach for the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's also hear real quick some of what Andy Heck, the veteran offensive line coach for the Chiefs, had to say in St. Joe today.
You see a guy like Bill Benson, just drafted, the good story that it is. Just what you guys see when you brought him into the program and then now seeing him on the field, how does that translate to one reason could be another start?
I think you're right. It's a great story, and our scouts did a great job, bringing him in. And right away, you could see in our rookie minicamp that he had dominant physical traits, and so we're doing our best to train him at a couple of positions, give him an opportunity to grow, learn our system, learn a couple of positions, and he's done a great job. He's working his tail off.
What's your message after the game to the guys about penalties?
Yeah, obviously we've got to eliminate those penalties. It's clear that those are drive killers. I mean, we're moving the ball. We have a penalty, we go backwards. And so, we've got to be more disciplined than that. We've got to play with our hands inside. We've got to make sure we're sharp on the snap count. And we're looking for guys that can do that.
You're down a number of guys. How do you balance, making sure obviously somebody's got to go out there and play, but not over-repping some guys? Is that a delicate tightrope to walk?
Yes and no. I mean, those guys, they get nicked up. We'll get them back as soon as we can. But it also presents an opportunity for people to train in other spots, to get some extra reps. This is the time of year, training camp, that's what it's all about. And really it's part of football to be expected. It's a rare year that you don't have weeks like that or days like that. So I look at it as an opportunity. And then, if a guy's getting a little bit too much, then we share the workload and just another opportunity for someone else.
A couple more. We'll start with Nate.
Hey, why was it so important to move Khalil inside at right guard last week with Trey being out? And were there things that you were trying to learn in terms of, how versatile he could be as a potential player?
Yeah, absolutely. The number one benefit is for him, as a tackle, primarily, probably his best position. He's a guy that will only add to his value if he can play guard. So with Trey missing some time, that's a great opportunity to give a guy some training for those days that, hey, I may need to plug him in there to find our best combination. So it only benefits him.
What did you learn about Ethan Driscoll last year as he dealt with the health issues and now trying to come back this year?
Yeah. Ethan cares a ton about football. He's a good competitor. He's a very tough, hard-nosed player. And so, that showed itself last year when he was working through his surgery and coming back and getting healthy. He was there every day in our meeting room doing what he could. And he's come out and definitely asserted himself physically in this camp. Just cleaning up some technique things are, primarily what we're focusing on with him.
That was Andy Heck, the offensive line coach for the Chiefs earlier today in St. Joe. We're going to take a timeout, come back and wrap up this opening hour of 580 Sports Talk right after this. Quickly to wrap up this first hour of 580 Sports Talk, let's tell you about what you're going to hear in hour number 2. Injury concerns at camp for KU and especially for K-State. Could the Wildcats season be derailed early by a rash of offensive line injuries? We'll discuss. We'll also talk about that particular subject, all things K-State, with Tim Fitzgerald at GoPowerCat.com, part of the 24/7 Sports Network, for a Wildcat Wrap-Up presented by Tallgrass Windows and Doors. We'll also have another round of What Is Wrong With You, and we'll play a little One Gotta Go as well. That's all coming up on the final hour, or the second hour of 3 of 580 Sports Talk.
Currently 84.
Dan Lucero and Spencer Dupuis talking sports in Topeka. This is 580 Sports Talk.
Let's get it. Hour number 2, 580 Sports Talk on this Wednesday. So glad you're with us. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis, rocking with you on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, on your mobile device, 580 or MSC Radio app. 580 Sports Talk's the name of our YouTube channel. You can watch the program. Hello to our video viewers today. However you're joining us, thank you for joining us. Hope you're having a good time and staying dry or planning to stay dry as the storm threat rolls in from the north here this afternoon and into this evening to our listening area. We'll, of course, keep you posted should anything turn severe or tornadic. You can keep it right here, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9. We'll have you covered there. We've also got you covered for Royals baseball tonight at the K, provided that's not weather interrupted. I haven't actually looked at the Kansas City area forecast to know if that's a possibility or not. But pregame coverage at 6. First pitch, 6:40 tonight from Kauffman Stadium as the Royals look to make it 4 wins on the bounce after beating the A's last night 4-3. Seth Lugo on the bump for Kansas City. Jeffrey Springs, the southpaw, will get the nod for Sacramento tonight. First pitch again, 6:40 here on the Sports Voice of Kansas. We'll get to some Royals baseball a little bit later on in the program. We're going to talk some college football here in this 4 o'clock hour, not just because the great Tim Fitzgerald at GoPowerCat.com is going to join us at the bottom of this 4 o'clock hour for the Wildcat Wrap-Up, sponsored by Tallgrass Windows and Doors. We're going to dig in, get our hands dirty, get them purple with digging in the K-State weeds, talking about all things Wildcats with Tim Fitzgerald. But we're also going to talk about some notable injuries of both Kansas and Kansas State camps. And the Kansas State injuries, more alarming, at least if you believe what you've read or believe what the fear-mongering occurring on social media is suggesting. Some more concerning injury news for Kansas State along their offensive line, which is already a point of, I don't know that it's quite right to say an area of concern, but it was an obvious area of needed growth. It needed to get better from 2025 to 2026. And 2 pretty big important pieces weren't practicing yesterday when the media was watching practice. And not only were they not practicing, they weren't visible. Nobody could find them. And the internet's run wild with some rumors. Obviously, we'll ask Tim Fitzgerald what he knows, but we'll discuss what it could mean if K-State's all of a sudden got to replace some veteran stalwarts, including their only returning all-conference offensive lineman. So that's coming up on the show today in this hour. Also got What Is Wrong With You and One Gotta Go this hour. We'll have some headlines, a lot of headlines to get to on the show in the 5 o'clock hour. Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Chiefs, will join us at 5:25 for yet another training camp report brought to us by Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. Spencer, have you seen who the player is in question today? Did you happen to see it?
I happened to glance at it because I was making sure other stuff was in that same folder.
Were you surprised? Was it a surprise to you? Did you go,
little bit, but
yeah.
But in a way, I think that he was so impressive. He was new on the scene last year, unexpected, right?
Oh, I haven't told everybody who we're talking about. So I don't know if you're right or not, Spencer. I'm playing dumb. I don't know if I'm playing dumb, Spencer. I haven't told the people yet. I let the mystery sit there for the 3 o'clock hour.
I think it would be icing on the cake, though.
Yes, definitely qualifies.
If he had a breakout year, that would be amazing.
Yes, definitely qualifies for cherry on the Sunday week, as we're calling it here with Mitch Holthus on our training camp report. That's coming up at 5:25. If you want to guess, go ahead. Text line's open, 272-9429. You can also interact with us in the live chat on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel today. Doesn't cost you anything but a click or the tap of your screen. 1 week from today, we are going to eat hot chicken wings because you made us. You got to 1,000 subscribers. We promised that we would find a way to debase ourselves for you as a thank you. We got weird ways of thanking people. We got to really work on that. But that's what we decided we were going to do. We are actually, I said we were going to do it at the 5 o'clock hour on Wednesday. We are.
Okay.
But we're going to do it in lieu of headlines because we're off at 5:30 that day. So we will do it.
Oh, yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're off at 5:30. Royals in Toronto next week. So we've got Toronto and Cleveland. So we've got some truncated shows next week, and Wednesday happens to be one of them. So,
well, that gives us a good amount of time, I think, to have it instead of like trying to finish Mitch and being all anxious about the hot wings.
No, we're going to do the hot wings, and then we're going to call Mitch, and we'll see if Mitch notices that our mouths are on fire while we're talking to him.
Could you imagine if we did that? I don't think he'd talk to us again.
We're gonna ask Mitch questions with our mouths full of milk and ice cream or whatever else. But yeah, coming up, top of the 5 o'clock hour next Wednesday, Spencer and I will conduct a hot wing eating challenge, and the challenge will be: are we tough enough to eat the hot wings? And
have you figured out a location that we're getting them from?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. Be patient.
We got less than a week.
I know.
We're under a week.
I know. I'm not worried about it. Good things come to those who wait. All I'll say. So that's coming up. That'll be something you'll want to watch on the YouTube stream, because we will eat the wings in front of you. We'll get away from. We'll bring you in. We'll get you off the board.
Yeah,
and we'll bring you in here.
I was going to say we need to recruit somebody to come in and help us.
We'll eat the wings.
Yeah.
But that's coming up next Wednesday here on 580 Sports Talk. So subscribe to the YouTube channel today. Again, name of the YouTube channel, real easy one to remember. 580 Sports Talk.
Yeah, not hard to remember when now you can hear it a lot more without us saying it during our show. I don't know if anybody's noticed all that.
We are real easy to find.
Yeah.
We do our best. So we do our best to be easy to find. Let's talk some college football. We're getting close, right? 2 Fridays from today, KU's opener. 2 Saturdays from today, the dawn of the Colin Klein head coach era at Kansas State. There's already the dawn of the Colin Klein era. There's already a Colin Klein era. He's one of the great players in program history, damn near won a Heisman Trophy, won a Big 12.
The Colin Klein.
The head coach,
man.
Colin Klein era begins 2 Saturdays from today. You'll, of course, be able to hear the action all season long on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, or our sister stations as events may warrant. Of course, we got our Royals commitment through September. So just be listening, and we'll tell you where you can hear the games. We can promise you that. We will tell you, can already tell you that first Saturday game, that opener against Nichols, will be on our sister station, the Big 94.5 Country.
And
that is where you will hear alternate, should the Royals and K-State have a conflict, we will move Kansas State to the Big 94.5 Country. So put that in your presets if it's not already. And that's where you can hear the Cats when they open their season. The first episode of Cat Chat with Colin Klein is also on the schedule. You'll be able to hear that a week from today following Royals baseball. It'll be scheduled for a 6 o'clock start, but obviously we got Royals baseball that night. So following Royals baseball, you'll hear in full the inaugural edition of Cat Chat with Colin Klein. They're not calling it the Colin Klein Show anymore. They are, or the head coach here show. It's going to be Cat Chat. So Cat Chat, the first episode of Cat Chat coming up following Royals baseball next Wednesday here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. So I say all that, little bit of a synergy there, but I say all that to say we are getting close to the start of college football season. And that means that camp has been underway, and there are always injuries to monitor in camp. And some of them happen all the way back in the spring. And you're not going to have a guy because they got hurt in the spring. And unfortunately for Kansas, that's the case at a position where they looked a little thin with Trevon McAlpine, who was projected to slot in as a starting defensive tackle this year, injuring his knee, and he's not going to be able to play this season. And that's a blow, certainly. But when it happens in the spring and you get the diagnosis and you know what it is, you have the chance over the course of the summer and from the start of fall to kind of rework your depth chart and have a pretty good idea of what you're going to need to do to cover for what you've lost. When you suffer injuries in camp, that gets a little bit trickier. You don't have quite as much run-up and maybe not certainty about how available a player is going to be. And certainly, caveat applies here, that we don't have any more certainty than the next person about the severity of the injuries we're going to be talking about here. It's by design. By design in terms of that's how Lance Leipold likes it. That's definitely how Colin Klein, we can already see. This is going to be a very Snyder-ish K-State program. They're going to keep as much as close to the vest as they possibly can. That's their right. I mean, it's a little different now. You're going to have injury reports going into games, which was not a trifle that Bill Snyder had to concern himself with in his coaching days. But as far as right now, whatever doesn't need to be said publicly isn't being said publicly. But there is stuff that is public knowledge. And at Kansas, it is public knowledge that Cam Pickett hasn't been practicing very frequently. The wide receivers coach at Kansas had mentioned that he's getting some work in on the side, but if he's not practicing, if he's not dressing for practice, and you're about 2 weeks out from the season opener, you start to be a little concerned about the availability of wide receiver one for whoever your new starting quarterback is going to be. And that's a less than ideal situation. Pickett's the most experienced piece of that wide receiver group returning 45 balls, 476 yards, 3 scores last season. I think all of those scores came in the first 2 weeks. But he was productive in last year's offense and stood to be not just more productive, but more of a leader on the offense this year. There's a reason he was selected as one of the Kansas players that made the trip out to Big 12 Media Days. Behind Pickett at wide receiver, the cupboard's not totally bare. Nick McMillan today was named to the Biletnikoff Award preseason watch list. He was a real productive player at Buffalo and, like Cam Pickett, a MAC guy coming from the MAC, and stood to anyway be a productive piece of that receiver core. Najee Cox has played a bunch of college football, most recently Middle Tennessee. They've got some other younger guys who've been around, like Keaton Kubeka. Tate Nagy's in his second year with the program. Bryson Hayes can really run. But your group will always struggle when you lose your top guy. And what Kansas is probably going to have to do this year, because really, I think you feel good about the top three, and then you have question marks at wide receiver. You feel good about Pickett and McMillan and Cox to a degree, and then you've got question marks. Like, can Kubeka really contribute on a consistent level, which he hasn't been able to do? Any of the young guys, like Bryson Hayes, former Shining Heights Thunderbird, Tyron Parker, any of those guys ready to step up and deliver at that position. But you feel good about the top three, and behind that, when you have questions, then you lose one of the top three. That puts a lot of onus on other players to contribute in the passing game. And that is where two things I think that are going to be always going to be big parts of the Jayhawks' plans this season, but I think stand to be useful, really come into play. The first is Andy Kotelnicki's use of tight ends. Andy Kotelnicki could get a tight end open if there were 20 defenders on the field, I'm pretty sure. Like, some of the stuff that he ran when he was at Kansas, some of the stuff that he ran when he was at Penn State, tight ends get butt naked open in that offense all the time. And those are point and click throws for whoever your quarterback is. Whoever you've got back there. And it's still kind of up in the air, though we think Cole Ballard's going to be the guy. Whoever is back there is going to have some point-and-shoot throws to tight ends that are going to be explosive plays. They're going to be chain movers. Guys like Carson Bruin and Leighton Cure and, oh, my God, I'm losing the name of the big kid from Albany who was on the John Mackey Award watch list. Oh, my hell. I've just completely blanked on the name. Trying to pull up their roster right now. Bad job by me. I got to play as KU on the video game. Then I'll lock in I'll lock in the players. I haven't played them in the video game yet.
Is it Jalen Butler?
That's the one.
No, Carter Moses.
Yeah, Carter Moses well, they are both veteran transfers in who are going to play. Moses is the one I was thinking of because he was the one from Albany that was on the John Mackey Award watch list. But those guys are going to be a factor in the passing game. And then the other guy, Dylan Edwards. Like, if you're looking for players who are going to contribute in the passing game, yes, you want Cam Pickett, wide receiver 1. You want him out there. Nick McMillan, Najee Cox, Keaton Kubeka ran down the list of the receivers already. But the tight ends will be a factor because in a Kotelnicki offense, they always are. And Dylan Edwards is going to be a factor, whether that's out of the backfield, whether that's maybe lining up in the slot on some occasions. Like, I'm really, really interested to see how he gets utilized in an offense with a creative mind at the controls, because we didn't get him in an offense with a creative mind last year. We barely got him at all, but when we did, we got him in a Matt Wells offense.
Yeah.
So what Edwards can add as a pass catcher, I think, is really exciting for that offense. So I think that, yes, they would miss Pickett if he missed time. And they need all hands on deck for week 2 because that's Mizzou. And you need all hands on deck for that football game if you're going to pull off what would be an upset of what looks to be a pretty good Missouri team. But can they replace the production? Can they find other ways to move the ball through the air? I think that they'll manage even if the wide receiver group takes a hit. Now, bigger concerns in Manhattan. Left tackle John Pastore and left guard Tanner Morley weren't at practice for K-State. And there's some internet rumors out there that suggest that their injuries are significant, like going to miss significant time. Have even heard, I'll go ahead, I won't ignore it. I won't bury my head in the sand on this. There is a rumor that Pastore's injury is season-ending. That is a rumor. I want to stress, we don't have any concrete reporting on that, but there are enough people suggesting that that's what it is, that is the rumor. So if you've stumbled upon that, I am acknowledging that I, too, have stumbled upon the same rumors that you have. And that would be a huge blow to this Kansas State team, to not have their lone returning all-conference offensive lineman and a preseason first-team all-conference left tackle for any length of time. You don't want to miss that player. But if it is indeed as significant as has been rumored, that's going to be really tough for Kansas State to recover from. And adding fuel to some of the rumors about long-term absences for a couple of starters, Avery Johnson talked to the media yesterday and was asked about the offensive line and talked at length about a bunch of different guys. And 2 guys he did not mention were John Pastore and Tanner Morley.
But that could also be training.
It could.
Like, hey, these guys are hurt right now, and if you bring up their names, then they're going to be asked about.
It doesn't have to mean anything.
Yeah.
But it also doesn't feel like it means nothing, if that makes sense.
That's
so,
true.
If those 2 are down for any length of time, that's the left side of your offensive line. And then you're in a spot where you've got to go young. And K-State's already going young. It sure sounds like Dylan Villarreal, and I apologize if I'm not getting that name correct. That's a tough one to kind of wrap my tongue around. But he's going to be, by any name, it sounds like the starting center. He's got an opportunity to step in. He played some as a freshman last year, and now as a sophomore, he's looking like a guy who might end up as the starting center. And there's a lot of potential there, a lot to be excited about with his long-term potential, but it is still, I mean, you're still talking about a sophomore starting at a pretty important position on the field. Now, he's big. I like his size. He's listed 6'3", 328. I like that kind of beef. Villarreal excuse me, is the pronunciation. I maybe tried to pronounce it in Spanish when it did not need to be. I didn't need to roll my L's. Villarreal is the pronunciation per the K-State website. So I'll get that right from here on out. So Villarreal at center, big kid, promising kid, also, hey, as these things go, a kid, right, a sophomore. We've heard a lot of really good buzz about Oliver Miller this offseason and going into camp. And he even came in for a mention from Colin Klein in his press conference. 6'6", 295, freshman out of my hometown of Centennial, Colorado. So I'm rooting for the kid, even if you did go to Cherry Creek High School. But a lot of buzz for this kid, comes from a winning program, and a lot of thought that he can help Kansas State. He can get on the field this year. But it's a pretty big leap from he can get on the field to he's your left tackle now. Like, he would not be, like, far from the first true freshman to start for a Power 4 at left tackle. Yeah. But usually the guys who do that are your, like, slam dunk, no doubt about it, 5 stars. Like, the guys who are going to go in the first round someday. Your Jordan Seatons, who started, he's at LSU now, but he's at Colorado. He might be the highest paid college football player in America, Jordan Seaton. I don't know if that's public information, but he's on a short list. He's making a lot of money to transfer from Colorado to LSU. Like Andre Smith, who had a long NFL career, he started at left tackle, like day one. The kid from Missouri, Jackson Cantwell, who was the Gatorade Player of the Year in Missouri last year. He's probably going to start at left tackle for Miami. But he was #1 offensive lineman in the country coming out. Like Oliver Miller, not quite that. Is he good? Could he be good? I'm not ruling that out. The reviews, they were talking glowingly about him before all of this injury news. But it's a big, big ask. And then that's to say nothing about what you might be putting next to him, because the guard spot would then probably go to a less experienced, a younger player. The good news for Kansas State, if it can be good news, if you've got to go real young at 2 spots on your offensive line, 3 spots if you count Villarreal. The thing about being young and inexperienced is you don't stay, or young and inexperienced, is you don't stay young and inexperienced for very long. You grow up in a hurry. And Kansas State has a first month of their schedule that is a little lighter. Like, we're not talking about Oliver Miller's got to go start against Iowa State in a must-win game in Ireland. First game's against Nichols, at home. Second game, Wazoo, at home. Third game, Tulane, a Tulane program that's been very good, but might be a little diminished with a new head coach that hasn't proven a lot in his head coaching career, as opposed to being Willie Fritz and John Sumrall's program. And then the first conference game before your bye week is Cincinnati, who is not, probably a bottom half of the league, is a bottom half of the league team. That would suggest that it allows for growing pains in a different way, certainly than last year's schedule would have set up for. But, I mean, it's the Department of redundancy department to say that it would be bad to lose your all-conference starting left tackle for any amount of time. Obviously, I'm not, you're anything good I could say about Oliver Miller is a brief ray in a very dark cloud, if indeed that's what Kansas State is looking at this season. We'll ask Tim Fitzgerald what he knows coming up in about 10 minutes. But first, we got What Is Wrong With You coming up on 580 Sports Talk.
Dan Lucero and Spencer Dupuis talking sports in Topeka. This is 580 Sports Talk.
What is wrong with you time on 580 Sports Talk? We've got two new stories today to try and take down our current champion and stay out of Home Depot. Guy who was a habitual Home Depot thief. Even going so far as to, when confronted about his stealing, tell the employees who confronted him, yeah, I did it, and I'm coming back to do it again. And he did. Over and over, until they finally arrested the guy and threw him in jail for 3 years. Two stories today. Mine is very simple, although it's a simple story to tell, but it raises a lot of questions. Seattle police blocked multiple lanes of Aurora Avenue North on Sunday morning after a driver reportedly fell asleep in the middle of the road with a gun in his lap. Officers arrived at a blocking traffic call near the 125th Street intersection in Seattle around 10 a.m. Sunday. Arriving officers found a man asleep in the driver's seat with a pistol in his lap. Officers requested more units with at least 5 cop cars pulling up to surround the vehicle and block the area. Man, if he was asleep, one car probably would have been fine. Around 30 minutes later, the news channel KIRO watched as the man got out of the car, backing up slowly toward police with his hands behind his head. He was arrested on weapons-related charges and booked into jail. How you just, fall asleep?
Yeah.
It looks like it was at a stoplight. He just nodded off at the stoplight with the pistol on his lap.
That's not a good look.
No, really, really a bad look. Again, like I said, raises a lot more questions than it answers. But I guess my biggest question is, why did that need 6 police cars? They got this dude surrounded like he had a bomb in his lap. Nah, man, he's just a sleepy guy with a pistol that you don't know if he's going to use. Just kind of, little tap, maybe with the butt of your gun to show him you're serious. Maybe just a little tap, wake him up, rouse him from his slumber. Sir, can we help you? And then to book him on weapons-related charges suggests to me he probably didn't have a permit for that thing. But neither here nor there. What is your story today, Spencer?
Yeah, Roy. A man in Florida was wanted on a felony battery warrant, and he tried to hide under a mattress when police came looking for him over the weekend.
Under a bed frame or under a mattress?
It says under a mattress.
Well, you can't really hide under a mattress, can you?
Yeah.
Just a big lump in the mattress.
The mattress had one flaw as a hiding place, though. It wasn't, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah.
Police said there was a large lump sticking out of the center. West Haven officers lifted and found 24-year-old Sergey Nombre.
I think it's Serge Nombre, which is a sick name.
Underneath, according to the Winter Haven Public Safety Department. He began calling for his mother as officers ordered him to show his hands. His mom came running. What followed turned into an arrest on an outstanding warrant into 3 trips to the Polk County Jail. Officers went to the home on 5th Street Southeast in Winter Haven on August 15th after receiving information that who had an active warrant might be inside there. Police encountered his mother, 53-year-old Maya Jones, at the home. Jones insisted her son was not there, but consented to a search, according to the department. In one bedroom, officers spotted a mattress lying on the floor with a large lump protruding from the middle. They lifted it and found him concealed underneath. When officers ordered him to show his hands, police said he refused and began yelling for his mother. Jones ran into the room and grabbed an officer from behind. A sergeant pushed her away, but Jones tried to grab the officer again, grabbed the sergeant's hand, and swung her fist at the sergeant. The sergeant deployed her taser. According to the department, Jones initially fought through the first deployment before the second one gained compliance. Officers handcuffed Jones and Nombre. Jones was taken to the Winter Haven Hospital for medical clearance. Police said a clear plastic bag containing a substance that tested positive for meth was found concealed beneath Jones' bra area while she was being evaluated. There was another arrest unfolding as they
completely unrelated arrest. They found a guy outside with some meth and were arresting him while all that was going on in the house, which is kind of funny.
So, 3 people end up going to the Polk County Jail after all this, all because of a felony battery warrant for one of them.
Hiding under a mattress.
Yeah, hiding under a mattress.
Crazy work.
Where there's clearly you can't hide.
Yeah, I kind of like that story today. I'm going to go with that one being a winner. A little bit more there. The mother and son angle of it is very funny.
And then just a random other guy getting arrested.
Does that beat our habitual Home Depot thief?
I don't think so.
Yeah, we're going to stay with that guy as our winner on What Is Wrong With You. Tim Fitzgerald joins us next for the Wildcat Wrap-Up on 580 Sports Talk.
Enough commercials. Back to the Sports Talk. 580 Sports Talk.
Kevin!
We are joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline by Tim Fitzgerald, publisher, GoPowerCat.com, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. For this week's Wildcat Wrap-Up, sponsored by Tallgrass Windows and Doors, who provide high-quality products at affordable prices. You can check out their showrooms in either Wamego or Lawrence, or visit them online at tallgrasswindows.com. Excellence without exception. That's Tallgrass Windows and Doors. Tim, a lot of scuttlebutt out there about some injuries to the K-State offensive line. Can you confirm that John Pastore and Tanner Morley are alive and are real people and not like cyborgs or aliens who have had to return to their home planet?
No, they're here. They're here. They were at practice yesterday, but they were not practicing. And we think Pastore's injury is probably a little bit, sorry about that, a little more severe than Morley, but we really don't have enough verification on this. I have gone back in time, and I am 100% in another Bill Snyder era of K-State football. It's uncanny what's going on.
Well, what would Bill Snyder have thought about the weekly injury reports that Colin Klein's going to have to file with all the other Big 12 coaches?
He would have found a way to make it his advantage, and I think we saw some coaches doing that. I think Chris Kleiman did that a little bit. There's some loopholes within that rule that allow you to kind of bend it to your will, and we saw a lot of coaches do that. He's been known to, and Coach Snyder has been known to take plenty of rules and bend them to his will, a very strong will.
Back to the injured players or the non-practice participating players. John Pastore and Tanner Morley, that's your left side of the offensive line projected for Kansas State. They can't go for any length of time, whether that's a day of practice, a week of games, or a season's worth of games. Obviously, that means Kansas State's going to be awful young at those positions on the offensive line. But is that necessarily reason for total panic, DEFCON 1? Or do you feel like there's some upside on the depth chart that while you experience some growing pains, there are some young guys who might over time prove themselves ready to step in?
Yeah, possibly. But that position in terms of left tackle was really chaotic in the spring because Pastore was out for that. And, they thought they'd developed some depth, but nothing on his level. It's a very interesting situation they're in now. And maybe they go back to the portal and see if there's anyone out there, see if there's a fifth year out there. I don't know what they're going to do, but they need to shore up that left tackle spot because I don't really think anyone's quite ready to be the left tackle in the Big 12 right now.
What does the rest of that O-line look like? What feels like is kind of nailed on? Because obviously Pastore was nailed on at left tackle, and now there's some concern that he might not be, and Tanner Morley looked like he was going to be left guard, and there's now some concern there. What do those other three positions look like, and how stable are the starting roles on the rest of the offensive line?
Well, I think they've established a center, but he's young, and you've got Gus Hawkins back at right tackle, so maybe that's a solid spot. He really kind of improved as the year went on. I'm honestly not sure where they're at right guard right now. I think there's again a lot of candidates, and I think they're better in terms of depth on the interior of guys ready to play. But Hawkins being out there helps. He needs to continue to progress, but at least having a right tackle that can go is good. Boy, they got to figure out that left tackle spot and pretty quickly.
Tim Fitzgerald to GoPowerCat.com joining us here on 580 Sports Talk. This is the Wildcat Wrap-Up, sponsored by Tallgrass Windows and Doors. We do it every Wednesday at this time here on the program. Got to hear from Avery Johnson yesterday. He was able to speak to the media, had plenty to say, as you would expect. Lots of questions directed the way of the third-year starting quarterback. Anything stand out to you as particularly interesting or noteworthy from Johnson's comments as he gets ready for his senior season?
I just think people are sensing a level of confidence in him that he really hasn't shown. He's always been really well-spoken and handled press opportunities very well. He knows it goes with the job. And he's never resisted that. He's always been reliable for the most part in coming to the room. But now there seems like an air of confidence that he hasn't quite had. A sense that he doesn't have to be perfect, but he better be making better decisions in key times. And I think making bad decisions when the heat's on is a sign of faltering confidence. So if his confidence is back, is up to where Colin Klein needs it, I think they're going to have some fun using him in this offense.
I read, I'm trying to remember the name, Stuart Mandel's Big 12 predictions in The Athletic, and he writes of Avery Johnson that he has shown that he is a low ceiling player. I absolutely don't think that's true. I think most Kansas State fans, maybe even more fervently than me, don't believe that that is true. But what does Avery have to do if we agree that he has a higher ceiling than maybe Stuart Mandel would suggest? What does he have to do to raise his floor? What does he have to do? Is that strictly about the elimination of some of those mistakes that kind of plagued him the last couple of years?
Stuart Mandel's an idiot. He continues to prove that he doesn't really know much. He's just got a great job. He's passed the low ceiling already. He's tied for career touchdown passes in K-State history. I don't know how a low ceiling guy does that. That makes no sense. That's an idiotic comment. And I just think he needs to improve on his consistency, but also make the big play. That's kind of been, he's had moments when he's done it, but also moments when he stepped out of bounds before he picked up a first down or, threw an interception on a key third down. So when the heat's really on, he's got to be better than he has been. And I think at the end of the day, if you're going to be a high-ceiling quarterback, you got to win a lot of games. And if he's got the team to do that or not, we're going to find out. But if they can start winning a bunch of games, it would be nice to show up Stuart Mandel yet again.
Tim Fitzgerald, our guest here on 580 Sports Talk for the Wildcat Wrap-Up, presented by Tallgrass Windows and Doors. We're going to see a Progressive Insurance logo on the field. We're going to see a Purple Wave auction patch on the jerseys this year as the professionalization of college sports continues apace with the addition of field logos, jersey patches, and the like. Do you have any idea? Like, obviously, it's not going to be in the realm of that the SoFi deal with Notre Dame or Chase Bank's deal with Ohio State, where you're talking $15 to $17 million annually for a jersey patch. But is the Purple Wave deal going to be pretty competitive with what other Big 12 teams are getting for their jersey patch sponsorships?
I've got no idea at this point. This just broke this morning. I'm not sure what they're getting for it. I will be asking around, but I'll say this. I'm a little surprised it was a local sponsor. I thought they would have a national ag-related sponsor. I'm a little bit stunned that they don't. Those companies have big advertising budgets. I don't know. Purple Wave is a home-built business. It's an online auction company that's done very well. Maybe better than I thought if they can afford this, because I would think that to be on the field, you got to be in the range of at least seven figures. So I knew that ruled me out. That's all I know. I did not have the money to be the field sponsor, but I think it'd be really great to have my face on the field, because I don't put my name. I just put my face out there.
You on one side of the field, and then Flo from Progressive on the other side. How about that?
Nice. You got two really revolting people. It's good.
I'll say this, though. At the very least, not only is it a hometown company, but also matches color-wise. It's not going to clash. It's actually a pretty nice-looking patch, the Purple Wave patch.
No, it is. It worked out well for them, and it's a good tie-in for Purple Wave. I think it's really cool for them. And they'll get some... I think because of the purple thing, they'll get some traction, people discussing it on game broadcasts, and I got to tell you, that's pure gold for a small company.
And why you do it? Why you do it from the Purple Wave perspective? Absolutely. Yep. Are there other things, other irons in the fire, opportunities that Kansas State can explore? Like, those are the biggies, right? Like the field sponsorship and the jersey patch. Those are obviously the biggies. Is there going to be maybe a broader outreach for maybe jersey patches in other sports, because this is strictly a football deal, or are there some other opportunities that Kansas State is pursuing to try and add some additional revenue to an athletic department that could use it?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't know if other patches are being shopped, how the coaches feel about that, if it's not a huge amount of money, but I'm also a believer in you got to generate revenue in this era, and if you can do it, you got to try to do it. And I'm not a big fan of the jersey patches. I'm just not, but they're here, and got to deal with it. So maybe if they can find the right sponsors for volleyball and women's basketball and men's basketball, we'll see what that brings. But boy, I just don't know how fans are going to greet all these patches and advertisements, and it's just going to be kind of a wall of advertisements when you go to a game.
We're joined by Tim Fitzgerald of GoPowerCat.com. And Fitz, your series finale for the Fighting Ever Fighting podcast came out last week to wrap up the week. And Chris Kleiman, you got to interview the old coach, and obviously been out of the spotlight since he wanted to step aside at the end of last season. Promote that podcast, and what is the biggest takeaway you took from the about 30-minute interview with him?
He's really relaxed. Yeah, Fighting Ever Fighting is a podcast we brought back. It had been kind of a whenever we could get to it podcast, and then we stopped, and we did basically 26 straight weeks. We picked up after basketball and ran it to mid-August, and Chris was the closing of it. He was great. It's by far our most viewed episode of it, approaching 7,000 views, and it's a great conversation. He's relaxed in what he's doing. He's got some offers to do stuff, but he's going to just sit this one out and go watch a bunch of college football, whether it's in Manhattan or Fargo. I know he's going to Colorado Springs. He's going to go to Army, Navy. So he's going to be living a good life this fall.
Tim Fitzgerald, the publisher at GoPowerCat.com, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Great time to become a VIP subscriber, by the way. Just with the football season right around the corner, get access to all of the outstanding work of the staff at GoPowerCat.com. Fitz joins us for the Wildcat Wrap-Up, sponsored by Tallgrass Windows and Doors, who provide high-quality products at affordable prices. You can check out their showrooms in either Wamego or Lawrence, or visit them online at tallgrasswindows.com. Excellence without exception. That's Tallgrass Windows and Doors. Fitz, always a pleasure. Look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you, sir.
That is Tim Fitzgerald. We'll take a quick time out, come back and wrap up this hour of 580 Sports Talk with One Gotta Go.
Nobody covers your teams like our team.
This is my team?
The sports voice of Kansas.
A musclehead, a bunch of yes men, and a doodler?
580 WIBW.
One Gotta Go time on 580 Sports Talk. You can do away with one of these revenue streams for, let's keep it to college sports. You can do away with one of these revenue streams forever. The on-field or on-court logo sponsorship, the jersey sponsorship patch or the stadium naming rights or field naming rights? You get rid of one of them forever. What would it be?
On the court.
The on field?
This was actually what I was going to ask in my one gotta go. We didn't coordinate beforehand, unfortunately. But yeah, I think there's some places that just shouldn't have stuff on the court. Allen Fieldhouse being one of them, or the field, just most college football fields shouldn't have.
I'm a big fan of, I would say, the naming rights. Like, especially when it's, you got to, like, force something ahead of, like, the name that it's had for a long time.
Like Arrowhead, GEHA Field at Arrowhead
that felt
Stadium.
so
and
clunky.
And now Jihad's like, we don't want to do it. We'll change that. Let you go back to
that.
Arrowhead.
Always felt so clunky. Jersey patches, like, I watch enough European soccer. I don't even flinch at the jersey patches anymore. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I do I love them? No, but like it is what it is. Even on the field, you can kind of look past them. But man, like I don't like going to the hallowed grounds of AT&T Jones Stadium at Texas Tech, or it's Galaxy Stadium.
Didn't they
now
just
or something
rename
like that?
it?
I think
Yeah.
they did. It's not like Galaxy Stadium or something.
What about Pitbull Stadium in Florida?
Yeah, FIU. Like, just, man, like, name it after, like, a famous alumni. Like, that's what college sports. For me, that's a college sports thing. I don't want these college teams that have been around for 150 years playing at, like, Crypto Arena or whatever it is. No, man, you should have to play, like, the stadium you named after your coach in 1940. You got to defend the grounds at Dork Bagwell Stadium or whatever.
I can't wait till it's something field at Bill Snyder Family Stadium.
I'm sure that's next. Before we take a break for the top of the hour, want to shout out the folks at Eagle Auto Wash and Detailing Salon. I know that it rained today. You're probably not thinking about a car wash, but the next time you are thinking about a car wash, you need to think about Eagle Auto Wash, the locally owned choice with the best prices and the best ultimate wash pass plans with prices of starting as low as $19 a month to get your car wash whenever you want. Soar with the Eagle once a week. Eagle Auto Wash and Detailing Salon. Mitch Holthus at 525. Headlines and more. Final hour next. Let's get it Third and final hour of 580 Sports Talk on this Wednesday. Dan Lucero and Spencer Dupuis hanging out with you on the sports voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, on your mobile device, on the MSC Radio app, and on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. With you until 6 o'clock. Royals baseball follows us, 6 o'clock pregame, 6:40 first pitch from the K tonight. So Royals try to secure a series win in this 4-game set against the bottom-feeding Sacramento Athletics, who are now 11-39 in their last 50 games. If they had any fans left, I'm sure they would be all miserable by now. But they alienated all their fans, so, you know. Cost of doing business.
I don't know. Those Sacramento people, they like their A's a little bit.
Yeah, you know, I'm sure it's a really hard time to walk through. You can't probably cross the street in Sacramento without having somebody want to come up to you and bemoan what has become of their Athletics, their beloved, soon-to-leave Athletics. We'll get into that a little bit later on this hour. We've also got headlines, and Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, who will join us here in about 18 minutes or so. It's another training camp report with Mitch, sponsored by Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. Should I spill the beans? I think it's time to spill the beans.
Why not?
Yeah, we'll go ahead and spill the beans. Cooper McDonald is the featured player today.
UDFA last year.
Yeah. Mitch's only hint was you haven't talked enough about this player, and that's probably true.
Yeah.
Because, like, I'll be honest with you. I know he was on the team last year, played. I know he in the preseason. Could I pick Cooper McDonald out of a photo lineup right now? I could not.
I could because I went down the elevator with both of his parents at a game.
Oh. So you know what he looks like because you met his parents?
Because when I saw his dad was wearing like some kind of like shirt it was a Chiefs shirt, but it was like a logo.
Uh-huh.
You know, all the NFL teams have basically the same kind of
same merchandise. Yeah.
Yes, I had a Commanders one that looked exactly like it, just Commanders.
Okay.
And I saw they were in front of me in the elevator, and then if you go in the media, there's a family room.
Right.
And they were in the family room walking out as I was walking back up.
And Cooper was with them?
Yes. Well, he was talking to them, and then they went their separate ways.
Okay.
So I saw Cooper McDonald.
I thought for a moment you were telling me that you could determine what a person looked like based upon the physical characteristics of their parents, which would be freaking incredible.
I can't do that. I'm not.
That would be. I mean, I would be off the charts.
It would be, but no, I can't do that.
Okay. Glad we got that cleared up. Anyway, no, like I don't have a Cooper McDonald like moment or memory that sticks out in my head. Like he is just a name on a roster to me. And like I watch all the games. I really do. I put in the work. I watch these games. And nothing that Cooper McDonald has done to this point that I have seen in like a game has jumped off the page. But the Chiefs really liked him in the last preseason, which I'll confess, if I saw something he did well in the preseason last year, you memory hold the preseason. You really do after a while.
I will say they obviously looked at the roster and they lost Leo Chenal.
And they didn't replace him. So I'm presuming they thought Cooper McDonald could fill some kind of close role to that. We will discuss things of that nature regarding Cooper McDonald with Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Chiefs, coming up now in about 15 minutes here on 580 Sports Talk. But we got to get into some headlines. We got a bunch to get to on our 580 Sports Talk headlines today. We'll start with what we just discussed with Tim Fitzgerald in the last hour. If you missed our chat, our Wildcat Wrap-Up with Tim Fitzgerald, to GoPowerCat.com. You can check that out on our podcast page at 580WIBW.com. You can find us on Spotify, searching 580 Sports Talk, or you can just open up the YouTube video and rewind until you see the graphic with Fitz and his smiling face on it. And that's how you'll know that we're talking to Fitz. We try to make it easy for you over there when it comes to when our guests are on the video. But anyway, we were discussing this, and this is from the press release today. K-State Athletics, in conjunction with Learfield's K-State Sports Properties, has announced a groundbreaking partnership with Manhattan-based Purple Wave Auction on a football jersey patch for the 2026 season. The partnership, the first of its kind in school history, secures Purple Wave's logo on the home and away football jerseys for the upcoming season and matches two iconic brands rooted in history and Midwestern values. The patch is one of several components of the partnership, which will also include digital, social media, and in-game activations, as well as NIL opportunities for Wildcat football student athletes. A quote from Athletic Director Gene Taylor: "We could not be any more pleased to team up with Purple Wave Auction on this special partnership. What makes it even more special is aligning with a local company and brand that share the same values and mission, and that's what we have done thanks to Aaron and Susie McKee and Purple Wave. They are a part of our team and will be showcased to the nation all season long." What I had not realized was the growth of Purple Wave. Like, obviously, I'm aware of them. Gosh, they've been a partner with us here on 580 WIBW. Our advertised on our airwaves.
They're still advertising right now.
Still are today. For many, many years, we're proud to have partnered with Purple Wave Auction. And they got a fun little jingle and everything. What I had not realized is that, according to the press release, the online auction company has grown into the country's leading no-reserve platform, giving buyers and sellers nationwide reach with a local touch. To that point, a texter from the 910, and we don't get a lot of texts. You can text the program from wherever with whatever area code you'd like to our text line, 785-272-9429. We do not get a ton of texts from a 910 area code, but that is from the state of North Carolina. And our texter tells us, I've been hearing Purple Wave ads on the radio here in North Carolina. So this is obviously a growing company. And clearly they got some money in the advertising budget because, like Tim Fitzgerald suggested, this has to be a seven-figure deal. Like, surely we're not talking, because it's only for football, we're probably not talking about, again, the 17 or 18 million, whatever it was, that SoFi gave Notre Dame to be on all their uniforms across all sports, and, like, primarily for football. Like, if somebody sees your jersey patch and lacrosse team, great. But, like, you're buying that's real estate that's really valuable for football primarily. But I would imagine this would have to be a seven-figure deal.
That's what,
we don't know the particulars, but would imagine that's what it is. And if Purple Wave now is a company with some major national reach, then it really does benefit them to get on the Kansas State football jerseys. And I joked about this with Fitz, but it is true. Like, you're going to see a lot of really incongruous and awkward-looking jersey patches. Hell, every team's going to have the green Monster Energy logo on their jerseys this year. It doesn't get a whole lot more incongruous than that. But the Purple Wave auction patch looks slick.
It fits.
It looks snazzy. It fits. And, it's a company with Manhattan roots, Kansas roots, and supporting Kansas State football. So, like I said, I understand being grumpy about jersey sponsorships. I do. But at the same time, these were always inevitable, and you may as well get one from a local company that looks good on the jersey. Yeah. And Kansas State has done that with the Purple Wave auction. And I'm not just saying that because they sponsor, they're a sponsor here on 580 WIBW. It is a slick-looking jersey patch. So that is the first headline today. Spencer, give me a headline.
Yeah, first headline for me. Topeka's own Gary Woodland has been named a captain's assistant for the 2026 President's Cup. The five-time PGA Tour winner and former U.S. Open champion is the fourth and final captain's assistant for Brant Snedeker's U.S. team of the 2026 President's Cup. The appointment marks Woodland's first time serving as a captain's assistant in the PGA Tour's competition, where he will join fellow assistants Jim Furyk, Keegan Bradley, and Webb Simpson. Snedeker said this of Woodland, quote, "Gary has earned tremendous respect from his peers through the way he competes, leads, and represents the game. Having worked alongside him at the 2025 Ryder Cup, I saw firsthand the perspective, passion, and team-first mentality he brings to the locker room, and I know those qualities will make him a valuable addition to our leadership group. Gary's experience as a major champion, a five-time PGA Tour winner, and a member of the 2019 President's Cup team gives him a unique understanding of what it takes to succeed in this competition." So that's pretty cool for Gary Woodland. Yeah. Speaking of Gary Woodland, he begins tomorrow's BMW Championship. He will tee off in a group with Adam Scott at 9:36 a.m.
So the President's Cup, for those who are unfamiliar, you've probably heard of the Ryder Cup. That is the biannual competition where Europe kicks the crap out of the United States.
Yes.
The President's Cup is the biannual golf competition where the United States kicks the crap out of the rest of the world. And by the rest of the world, not Europe. So to give you an idea, on the FedEx Cup standings right now, 6 of the top 30 players in the FedEx Cup standings would be President's Cup eligible, because this doesn't include anybody from like Live Golf or the DP World Tour. You got to be on the PGA Tour to play in the President's Cup. That's part of the deal. So like Siwoo Kim would be on the international team. Hideki Matsuyama, who's obviously won a Masters. Minwoo Lee. Ryan Fox, who won the British Open. Tom Kim, who's been a winner on tour. Adam Scott would obviously be eligible to play for the internationals. And then you get down to like Sung Jae Im is 40th. Nico Echeverria is 42nd. He's from Colombia. He would be eligible to play. Ryo Hisatune is 45th. Then you get to the Canadian guys like Corey Connors and Nick Taylor and Sudarshan Yelamaraju. I think I got that right. I probably didn't, but I might have. Aldrich Potgieters from South Africa, he could play. But suffice it to say, it's not as imposing a lineup as the United States can run out there in a President's Cup. So, cool deal for Gary. Like you mentioned, he was a Ryder Cup captain's assistant last year. Maybe one of these days he'll get to be the captain, pick the team at either the President's Cup or the Ryder Cup. A symbol of just how respected G-Dub is in the game. Let's get to some NFL news next on our 580 Sports Talk headlines. Let's get to a couple of big deal injuries from camp. The Los Angeles Chargers, eternally cursed. Looks like they're going to be without their starting center for a long time. Tyler Biadasz signed this offseason as a free agent to shore up the hole in the middle of that Chargers line. Well, he suffered an ACL injury in the team's joint practice with the 49ers. They say he's out indefinitely with ACL damage and additional injuries to his left knee, which, come on, man, you're not playing this year. You're not. It says he's going to meet with doctors to try to get more clarity. He was carted off after defensive tackle Sebastian Valdez fell into his leg during an 11-on-11 drill yesterday. He signed with the Chargers after playing for the Commanders over the last 2 seasons, starting 31 out of 34 regular season games before he was released in a cost-cutting move. Chargers this is why they're the Chargers, just eternally cursed with bad injury luck. Also, bad luck for the Houston Texans and second-year wide receiver Jaden Higgins, who suffered a torn ACL during a joint practice with the Raiders on Tuesday. Just fell awkwardly running around, and there goes his knee, and there goes his season. He started 10 games last season at 525 yards and 6 touchdowns after being drafted out of Iowa State. Houston will now rely more heavily on Xavier Hutchinson, who had a career year last year, 6th-round pick in 2023, and 2 other receivers recovering from injuries last year. Jalen Knoll, who was a contributor last season but has been hurt all camp, and Tank Dell, who hasn't played since the awful injury he suffered at Arrowhead Stadium in December of 2024 in a game against the Chiefs. So bad news for a Texans team that they're already not real good on the offensive line, and nobody seems to be able to agree on how good C.J. Stroud is. If Stroud's as good as I think he is, the Texans can win the AFC. And I only think he's like a borderline top 15 quarterback in the league. If he's any worse than that, all these injuries and that offensive line, I don't care how good their defense is. They're not making that much noise when the playoffs come around. Anyhow, next headline, Spencer, how about some NFL transactions?
Yeah, we've got a couple transactions. Keenan Allen to the Colts is official, and Trayvon Diggs to the Seahawks, the cornerback, the former Cowboy, going to Seattle. But they still plan to sign Terrion Arnold, the former Lions corner that is in legal trouble for allegedly committing some crimes. I'm just going to keep it there.
Yes, but facing 8 felony charges. Yes,
but he would be placed on the commissioner's list upon signing. So they need the commissioner's exempt list. So they're signing Diggs to actually play. So Diggs had 11 picks in 2021. Right.
and was the first-team All-Pro, and he was a Pro Bowler, and then he was a Pro Bowl the next year. He got paid. And then over the last 3 years, he's only played 22 games.
Yeah.
Tore his left ACL in 2023, had a right knee injury last year, and also had a concussion that occurred while he was attempting to install a television mount. I had forgotten that happened.
Yeah.
But, so his time in Dallas didn't end particularly well. He was cut. He was signed by the Packers, finished the season with them, and now goes to Seattle, where he reunites with some former teammates like DeMarcus Lawrence, Dante Fowler, Noah Igbenogany, and also Aiden Dirty, the defensive coordinator who was part of the Dallas coaching staff while Diggs was a Cowboy. Just feel like if you're going to do this, why do this and sign Terrion Arnold? Like, is the cornerback room that bad? Like, Devin Witherspoon, they just paid. I know they let Reek Woolen walk. Josh Jobe is back. Is it that dark behind the two starters? Man, because you're scraping the bowl. Like, Diggs had those 11 picks, but it wasn't actually good. Like, he was just, like, right place, right time for a lot of those. And when he's not intercepting passes, he's getting cooked pretty routinely. And now he's dealt with injuries in both knees. Like, I don't know how much he's got left. But it's not costing the Seahawks too much to find out. Final headline. This is a wild story out of Fort Worth and Big 12 football. Last year's Conference USA Defensive Player of the Year and the projected starting free safety for the TCU Horned Frogs, Jacob Fields, is no longer with the team after a physical altercation occurred with a teammate in the locker room. 4 days ago, an aggravated assault was reported in the locker rooms, according to the TCU Crime and Fire log. A source with direct knowledge of the incident confirmed to the Dallas Star-Telegram that Fields got into a fight with an offensive player. Fields is described as remorseful and taking accountability, but the source also believes the incident could have been avoided. According to the source, tensions began brewing between Fields and his teammates earlier this month in fall camp. The source said Fields felt targeted by teammates with insults and threats, including multiple moments when he was allegedly spit on by a teammate. He reached out multiple times to the coaching staff, but the source said there were no attempts to de-escalate the brewing tension, which ultimately led to the locker room confrontation. The source doesn't believe head coach Sonny Dykes was aware of the full extent of the issues in his locker room. That's not what you want to hear about your head coach. But also, if I've been spit on multiple times, I am also throwing hands.
Yeah.
If I'm spit on once, I'm throwing hands. Don't spit on me. Like, whatever happened there that led to him getting kicked off the team and not the spitter or whoever it was he got in the fight with.
There's some problems in that locker room.
Clearly. You don't walk away from a guy who was going to start. Like, they lost Bud Clark, second-round pick of the Seahawks, at free safety. And they bring in a guy who last year at, I think, Louisiana Tech was the Defensive Player of the Year in Conference USA. Yeah. Like, you don't bring that guy in and just cavalierly march him out of the locker room. Also, decent chance, though, that source probably from the Field side of the story. And there's two sides, of course, to every story. But big loss for the Horned Frogs a couple weeks out of the start of their season. In fact, they start in 10 days because they play North Carolina in Dublin. So they start in 10 days. They're the first game of the year. That'll do it for our 580 Sports Talk headlines. When we come back, Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Chiefs, will join us for a training camp report on 580 Sports Talk.
From the Chiefs to the Jayhawks, the Wildcats to the Royals, this is Topeka's only local sports talk show, 580 Sports Talk.
Welcome back into 580 Sports Talk. We are pleased once again to be joined at this time by the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, for another training camp report. Training camp reports on 580 Sports Talk are brought to us by Hy-Vee. The world's best tailgating begins at Hy-Vee, proud official sponsor of the Kansas City Chiefs, and by Azura Credit Union, where you can visit with the Azura Credit Union Home Loans team. Mitch, by way of a teaser yesterday, you told us that we had not talked much about the player we were going to be spotlighting today on this training camp report, and that is true because Cooper McDonald has been a player that has largely operated under the radar as far as statistical impact to the Chiefs, but for him to be not only a player who made the roster and hung around last season, but to be a part of the plans this season as a former undrafted free agent, it's clear that behind the scenes, the things we can't see, the Chiefs must really like.
Did you guess Cooper McDonald when I challenged you yesterday? You guys are usually so good at it.
I did not. I thought it was
No.
going to be a defensive back, maybe. Yeah, I was off. I was sniffing up the wrong tree.
Well, here's why I'm featuring Cooper and why I brought him up that way in the tease last night. Cooper is an interesting story. Now, let's start with the fact that losing Leo Chenal was a big blow. I think as big a blow, or maybe even bigger, is losing Trent McDuffie to the Rams in free agency. I was hoping that Leo somehow would stay, and he went to Washington. That leaves a bigger void than most fans in the Chiefs kingdom realize. He made plays that they remember, but he made a ton of plays that they have forgotten. And so these big shoes to fill in the linebacker / special teams / Swiss Army knife role that Leo Chenal had for this team. Enter Cooper McDonald. Was not drafted a year ago, was not even a priority undrafted free agent. He showed up in early May at a rookie tryout. 75 guys will show up, cleats over their shoulder, Dennis Quaid movie, and he not only made the team, he became arguably the special teams leader, one of the top 2 or 3. And now he's vying for a starting role and trying to at least spackle in the crack that is left by Leo Chenal. Now, he's making some progress. He's locked in. He's a bright guy. Now he just has to be good enough to be the number 1 Sam Becker.
Yeah, it's just being physical, knowing your job and doing it at a high level. Spags always talks about having smart players out there, so being smart, physical, playing fast, and knowing what you're supposed to do.
Okay, one thing's playing the run. What about playing the pass?
Yeah, playing the run, that's one thing. Playing the pass, drop it in your zone, matching different routes. Playing the Sam, you kind of do a little bit of everything. You pass rush, play the run, play the pass. So it's a unique spot in this defense.
It is unique, and it requires a lot. That's why Leo is so valuable. Now, you'll come off on nickel a lot. Sometimes you'll stay out there. But Cooper McDonald, it would really be fun for the Chiefs to find him at another level. So just know that right now, and with the injury especially to Jack Cochran, he's got a knee injury to Saw Jack, that Cooper is the guy. He's the number 1 Sam if they're in base to be out there with Nick Bolton and getting Drew Tranquil back soon, I hope. And then being a special teams guy. He's got to be a 4-core teams guy, Cooper McDonald.
Is that the role that they envision him kind of being locked into as far as when he's on the field, that's his role? Or do they see him as somebody maybe versatile enough at the linebacker spot to be one of the green dot options should, obviously you don't want injuries to befall both Nick Bolton and Drew Tranquil. If Bolton's got the green dot and Tranquil's next in line for that if Bolton's not on the field. But is McDonald a guy that could potentially be in that role as well in the linebacker core? Do they see him as that kind of versatile, or do they want to have him locked in at the one spot and make sure that that's what he's learning, that's what he's focused on?
That's why we're discussing him tonight, because they don't know. And so as a result, I don't know. And honestly, if Bolt came out, Cochran's the green dot. He's number 2 green dot, and Tranquil could be like number 3. But your question's a very good one, because if Cochran's going to be out for a bit, don't know if he will or will not, then you've got to train McDonald to be a green dot kind of guy. So, and a green dot means you're the quarterback of the defense. But they don't know. They're still kind of trying to figure out what they have with Cooper McDonald. He is physical, and ironically, he made his best play of all training camp today. There was a bootleg action by Justin Fields, and keep in mind the Broncos will run 55 boots that first Monday night, just like the Rams did on Saturday. Boot, 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 boot right, boot left. And it's a very difficult play to defend. And as a linebacker, you're caught in an island. Am I going to take the quarterback? Am I going to stay on my guy? What do I do? And Cooper McDonald made just a laser quick move today and knocked down a pass, which is my favorite defensive play no one talks about, as you know. And it would have wiped out a 20-yard pass game. So it's ironic we're talking about him, but it was a big-time play by Cooper. I just don't know if he's a 30-snap-based defensive guy against the Broncos to win the game like Chanel would have been, or is he special teams, or is he all of that? And that's why there's just still some mystery about Cooper McDonald on August the 19th.
Mitch Holthus is our guest, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, joining us for a training camp report here on 580 Sports Talk, sponsored by Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. Now, we've walked through the football terminology of this. The base defense used to be, unless you ran a 3-4, 4 down linemen, it was 3 linebackers. Now, more and more, the base has become a 4-2-5, if you will, with 5 defensive backs, a slot corner, maybe a third safety. Chiefs operate a lot out of a 5 defensive back look. They've got some guys on this roster, guys like Jaden Hicks, guys like Jeffrey Bassa, who have linebacker builds and defensive back experience or defensive back skill sets in such a way that extra player, if you've got 4 defensive backs, 4 linemen, and 2 linebackers, that extra player could almost be like a hybrid. So do the Chiefs, in evaluating what they have at the linebacker position this year, obviously Bassa's listed as a linebacker, but do they include Bassa, Hicks, maybe like a Chris Rowland Wallace or other players at that safety spot as being hybrid players who can add at linebacker? And does that make that position maybe more competitive for guys like McDonald, Cochran, Cole Christensen, Bassa, and others?
I'll throw Jaden Kennedy in this discussion, the rookie out of Oregon who was at Ole Miss before, because he's a physical slot corner. Now he's behind Christian Rowland Wallace. To answer your question, if it's just straight nickel right now tonight and we're playing a game, Christian Rowland Wallace is the slot corner. Now if L'Jarius Sneed gets out there, that makes another interesting discussion. But your point's a good one. I've seen the Chiefs do a bunch of different things with that 5th DB or / smaller linebacker person. The Chiefs have run a lot of 3 safety nickel. I'll call it on the air. I'll say they're in 3 safety nickel, meaning it's Hicks and Chamari Connor and Alohi Gilman all on the field at the same time, which the opponent sees 5 DBs, but 3 of those 5 are safeties. I've also seen 3 safeties, 3 corners, but that leaves a Cooper McDonald out, because normally when the Chiefs do that, it's going to be, in perfect world, going to be Drew Tranquil and Nick Bolton as the linebackers. So Cooper would leave in that instance, much like Leo did. But Leo showed later that he could play on the line. If Leo was back this year, you would see him be on the defensive line in a pass rush situation more and more. And I'm curious what Washington will do with him. So there's a whole bunch of mix and match here. Yes, the hybrid role is important. Bassa's got to figure out what Bassa is. And that's why I think these next couple of weeks for Jeffrey Bassa are important. He needs to look good against the run and the pass. But he has the build and the skill to be that hybrid guy as a linebacker, but then we also have a whole bunch of guys that are hybrid guys that are safeties, that are physical, and you just don't forfeit the run game when you put those guys in the game. So, yeah, it's a real interesting discussion, but Cooper McDonald's involved in this discussion.
Back to McDonald, what was the thing? Because if you're going to make the team as a UDFA, you've got to do something at that rookie mini camp and that mandatory mini camp that really jumps out, that really grabs the attention of the evaluators at your position, and certainly the evaluators on your side of the ball, and the big evaluator, of course, Andy Reid. What was it about Cooper McDonald that popped, that is his skill or attribute that carried him to where he is now on this Chiefs roster?
I would say short area quickness and physical enough, and a better athlete than you think. He really is, I would say, UDFA parentheses tryout guy. Because normally we think of UDFAs are the guys that are signed right after the draft. But, I mean, essentially it's a UDFA or CFA. But this is the college equivalent of not even a preferred walk-on. I'm not going to offer you a scholarship, but you're a preferred walk-on. And then some good dude just drives into practice to like, well, who are you? That's what Cooper was. And but then he's shown traits early of being just a better athlete than people thought. And then he just kept climbing. He's super smart. You could hear that in the comments. But he's got some power now that he's added. He's a powerful dude. And so, like the play today, I wish I could show the video of it, was a quasi-dynamic play. He made a quick decision in a split second and made the right decision. He had some coverage behind him, but he was not going to let the quarterback dictate the boot and just give up 8 yards at the least. And so his play ended up wiping out a 20-yard play. So there's a lot to like about Cooper McDonald. And even though he wasn't drafted, he's kind of the Khalil Benson of last year, where you still find players that sift through the cracks of the 200 and some that are drafted and all the people we talk about ad nauseum in the springtime.
Last question for you, Mitch. The linebacking group we mentioned, Leo Chanel lost to free agency, and what the Chiefs have on their roster right now at linebacker, they have Nick Bolton, who's on a substantial second contract. He's well compensated, one of the higher paid linebackers in the league. Drew Tranquil's on a modest veteran contract. He's making solid money. It's not break the bank money by any means, but the Chiefs invested in bringing Drew Tranquil back. He's on a third contract, his second with the Chiefs. And then you have third-day pick in Jeffrey Bassa. You have a lot of undrafted guys at linebacker with Cochran and McDonald and Cole Christensen, guys of that ilk at that spot. Is that we talk all the time about the Chiefs trusting their evaluation at defensive back and getting a lot out of third-day picks, second-day picks at that position. Do the Chiefs have a similar feeling about the way that they evaluate what works for them at linebacker, where they don't feel as though they have to invest draft capital or bring in a lot of veterans, where they feel confident in their ability to evaluate younger talent and develop younger talent within their system to get the best out of?
Well, let's be frank here. To take a Moneyball approach at looking at your roster, considering NFL version of Moneyball, how much do you invest at the linebacker spot? And usually it's not a big investment there. You're investing on your pass rush, your guys up front, and then your corners, and then what you do. So linebacker is your version on the offensive side of tight end or interior lineman, although the Chiefs have paid their interior at least two of the three big money, and someday Sue Matia. But you catch my drift. Linebacker is where running back was before Saquon Barkley ran for 2,500 yards. Is that, you don't pay running backs, you can get them anytime. And linebacker on the defensive side is kind of in that role. So you want to find good developmental players there that can play the run and be physical, but also play the pass.
Mitch Holthus is the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs and joins us throughout training camp for these training camp reports on 580 Sports Talk, brought to us by Hy-Vee. The world's best tailgating begins at Hy-Vee, proud official sponsor of the Kansas City Chiefs, and by Azura Credit Union, where you can visit with the Azura Credit Union Home Loans team. Mitch, tomorrow, final day in St. Joe. Who will we be spotlighting?
With the first pick in the 2023 draft, the Kansas City Chiefs select
Felix Anudike-Uzomah.
That's where we're going. His best camp yet. Where's Felix at mentally? I'm going to catch up with him tomorrow and give you an update.
We will look forward to that and look forward to having you on again with us tomorrow. Thank you, Mitch.
Thanks, guys.
That is Mitch Holthus. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back and start to put a wrap on this edition of 580 Sports Talk. Get you ready for Royals baseball tonight here on 580 WIBW. .544 at 580 Sports Talk. Dan and Spencer winding things down on this Wednesday. We got Royals baseball coming up in 16 minutes. Pregame coverage from the Royals Radio Network. First pitch tonight at 6:40 between the Royals and the A's. Like I mentioned yesterday, there's always in a season, no matter how down bad you might be, you get a chance to look across the field every now and again and go, man, at least we're not those guys.
Yeah.
And the Sacramento Athletics are those guys in that sentence. 11-39 in their last 50 games. Their bullpen is the only one statistically worse than the Royals in the American League. I'm not entirely sure. It depends on what stat you look at. If the Rockies bullpen is worse than Kansas City's or Sacramento. So I'll just leave. I assume always that it is. I just, no matter what.
Yeah.
But so I'll just leave the American League qualifier, and I know for a fact it was the 37th blown lead of the season by the Sacramento bullpen. And they lit a 3-1 lead on fire in the ninth inning last night with the help of Alex Tosi, the first base umpire, who did not ring up Tyler Tolbert with one out on a 2-strike pitch in the ninth inning, and absolutely should have. If you saw the replay, it was a swing. As Ryan Lefevre noted on the broadcast, I've seen more egregious ones not called swings, and I've seen less of a swing than that be called a swing?
Aren't they working on having that
A challenge system? Yeah,
challenge system for that.
They are running a trial of that. I don't remember at what level of the minor leagues. It might be single A, but yes, that might be the next thing that we get video review or something like an ABS review of. Like, yeah, if it's video review, the hell with that. But if it's something that the computer can tell you right away if it's right or wrong, then okay. Well, anyway, Tyler Tolbert should have been out number 2. Instead, he singled to left on the next pitch. That tied the game at 3. 2 batters later, Bobby Witt Jr. won it. Got a 99-mile-an-hour bat-chewing sinker in on his hands.
Blooper.
But pulled the hands in enough to get enough of the meat of the bat onto it to dump it into left field and score Carter Jensen with the winning run. So Bobby Witt Jr., the walk-off hero. And the first big league win for the Royal debutant, Carlos Duran, who came in throwing smoke, got through his inning with only 1 hit and 1 strikeout, and threw 8 of his 12 pitches for strikes. And that's kind of the whole ball game with him. The comparison is really easy to make with Steven Cruz. Big right-hander, obvious big league stuff, obvious ability to get you to swing and miss. Can you keep it near the strike zone? Because Duran couldn't and hasn't. And that's why an arm like that hasn't been an established major league arm. But the Royals have gotten Steven Cruz at least to the point where, like, I still don't feel like he's as good as he can be and may never get to that point. And God, the gopher balls this year are hugely problematic. But he's a big league reliever, like, no doubt. He has gotten his control to the point where, like, he's not dotting it like prime Greg Maddux, but he's throwing enough strikes, throwing it near enough to the strike zone. He's a big league reliever. So the challenge is, can they do it with this Duran kid? And good start, good Royals debut, and he got a win out of it, which was nice. Daniel Lynch's third start went better than his first 2, went longer than his first 2, only needed 45 pitches to complete 4 innings of work. Not a lot of strikeout stuff, which we kind of expected given his bullpen resume. Only 1 strikeout in those 4 innings, but after he got knocked around pretty good in the first and only escaped that with 1 run allowed thanks to a terrible send by the Sacramento first base coach. Jeff McNeil was out on the throw by, I think, a nautical mile for the second out of that inning. And then a really nice play by Michael Massey on the next batter to get out of the inning. But Lynch, after that, settled down 1-2-3 second, 1-2-3 third, and a 1-2-3 fourth. And his last at bat was the lone strikeout. He got Lawrence Butler looking to end the 4th inning. So that was a step in the right direction. Like I mentioned when they moved Lynch back to the rotation from the bullpen, the stuff mix doesn't have to change. The way he pitches, the way he attacks hitters, it doesn't have to be different with him moving to a starting role. The thing that has not been good in his first 4 starts, and it plagued him in the first inning, throwing the ball over the middle of the plate. Man, it doesn't matter what role you're in. You can't do that. You got to stay out of the middle of the plate, and that'll get you beat up no matter who you are and no matter what role you're in. But was better in the second, third, and fourth, and the results were accordingly better as well. Royals didn't do a thing on offense, really. They had opportunities. They were terrible with runners in scoring position. It was a very familiar-feeling Royals game right up until the 9th inning when it became a very familiar-feeling Sacramento Athletics game, to the benefit of the Royals.
Can we get an applause for Alex Lang, a clean inning?
9 strikes on 11 pitches. Man, it ain't that hard. Hit the strike zone. Hit the glove.
Because you have done that, like, for a long time, Alex? Come on.
His inability to do it consistently is why they're not, already working on his bust for the Royals Hall of Fame. The Royals have managed this. They're back in the wild card standings page on the front page of Baseball Reference. They are now being listed in the wild card standings. That is not a privilege that is afforded every team in baseball. Okay, you got to be within single digits. And as of tonight, the Royals are 9.5 out of a wild card spot at 53-74. There are now only 4 teams with a winning record in the American League. The expanded playoffs were a mistake. I don't think I would be totally fine. Just give me best of sevens with Tampa Bay, New York, Boston, and Chicago. I don't need to see anyone else in the playoffs. There are teams that quit, that are within a game of the postseason. Detroit, Baltimore. They're within a game of a playoff spot, and they quit on their seasons. Just playoffs too big, man. But somebody wrote a really good piece on the internet the other day. Like, Major League Baseball has decided that the more marketable thing is October instead of April through September, which for years and years of baseball history, what drew you in, what was different about it was a 6-month marathon, and that was what mattered. And then you had the World Series or you had the postseason, and that was obviously, I mean, I'm not knocking the postseason, but that, like, the journey was as much a part of the baseball season as the destination. And that's not really the case anymore. It's all about get to October and then chaos. And that's what Major League Baseball has decided the people want. And, like, we had an incredible postseason last year. So, hard to argue with the results, but it is what it is. Seth Lugo on the bump tonight for Kansas City. The lineup that will support him is the lineup against lefties going up against the Sacramento Southpaw, Jeffrey Springs. Nick Lofton will lead off for a second straight game. Tonight he plays second base. Bobby Witt Jr. is at short. Jack Caglione's at right. Michael Garcia's at third. Vinny Pasquantino's at first base. Salvador Perez will DH. Carter Jensen will catch and bat seventh. Tyler Tolbert's in left. Kyle Isbell is in center, batting ninth. For the A's tonight, it's Henry Bolt leading off in center field. Jeff McNeil at second. Zach Geloff in left field. Lawrence Butler bats cleanup in right. Tommy White is the first baseman. Carlos Cortez DHs and bats sixth. Jonah Heim will do the catching. Donovan Walton is at short. And Max Muncy, a.k.a. not that Max Muncy, is the third baseman. Did you know this about the two Max Muncies? Did you know they have the same birthday?
That is crazy.
The Max Muncy for the A's and the Max Muncy for the Dodgers were both born on August 25th. They got birthdays coming up.
That's crazy, man.
Happy birthday to this Max Muncy, the A's Max Muncy, and not the Dodgers Max Muncy, who is my eternal enemy. I hate him so much. He had a mammoth home run the other night against the Rockies. He just tortures my guys. My dad was at the game last night. My dad was at the Rockies-Dodgers game last night. He was right on. I don't know who got him tickets. He was right on the first base dugout, and I was trying to see him. And
is the first base the home or away dugout?
First base the home dugout.
Okay.
And so every time a left-hander is at the plate, I was watching real close to see if I could see him. And I was in and out of the game. I was watching the Royals and spending some time with my wife. And I had the game on. I think it was in the sixth inning, and Max Muncy was at the plate. And he had a foul ball, and he's coming back to the plate, and the camera's tracking him. And I see my dad mid-chug. He's working on a yellow belly. He's working on one of those big Coors Banquet pounders. And I snapped a picture, and I sent it to him. He says, yeah, that's my first one of the night. Sure it is. Shout out to my dad. Anyway, Royals baseball coming up. 6 minutes pregame coverage. First pitch tonight, 6:40. We're back with a final word after this.
and local. The sports voice of Kansas.
I'm a kind of a big deal around here.
580 WIBW and FM 104.9.
So quick NFL breaking news. Vita Vea is not getting traded after all. The star defensive tackle for the Buccaneers just got a 1-year, $30 million contract extension, including $6 million in new money for this season. So that drama at least is over with at Buccaneers camp. Final word time. Spencer Dupuis, what you got?
Yeah, when the Akron Zips football program announced like a month ago, I think, that they were going to do a offensive coordinator of the game for the first drive in their first game, I kind of thought they were eventually going to like back out of it. But here they haven't backed out. They've just announced their top 10 finalists, but it's really 9 because one person decided to back out. Among the finalists are college football YouTube content creator Bordeaux and Barstool Big Cat. So 2 big personalities on the list.
So they're going to rig it to pick Big Cat is what I'm hearing.
Probably. I think he donated a bunch of money to their NI or to their thing anyway.
So that makes it like 1,000 times less fun. This is just a thing you could buy your way into instead of like being like an actual fan of Akron football. They're going, we're gonna do something that gives us attention. I mean, we should have probably seen that coming, but disappointing all the same. Final word for me today. Man, I understand people grumpy about jersey patches in sports, especially in college sports. But like I said, I've been watching European soccer too long to really mind it anymore. And hopefully the Purple Wave partnership with K-State is a fruitful one. Royals baseball coming up next. We're on after Royals baseball tomorrow. For Spencer, I'm Dan. This is 580 Sports Talk. Good night.